Hi, guys. So happy you joined us today as we talk about the emotional intimacy secret behind couples who last. We are going through some Ennea style love maps. You've probably heard of love maps from John Gottman, the #1 marriage researcher. If you haven't, you're in for a treat today because we're going to talk about how couples have emotional intimacy more and more across the years. For these couples we're learning about who get healthier and healthier. And love maps are one of the biggest secrets to emotional intimacy. As you know, we're talking about the summer of intimacy here at E&M, and we are starting with the intimacy that comes before sex, the part where you really get to know each other. How about that? And I am just picturing you guys geeking out with me on this fun journey. Hopefully you can bring the freebie attached to this episode too. If you just need a handout where you're like, we need to see something on our phones, or we even like to print it out, just a one pager of the questions we're going to be walking through in general. I'm going to walk through them, but a little bit more specifically here because I'm using talk style here, and there you'll read it. But definitely the questions are there to help you if you're the type of person who likes exactness. And I love the idea of you going on that date, like I said, with maybe even you're driving in your pickup truck with your dog between you, you're having your milkshake at night. I have no idea if you have a truck. We don't even have a truck, but I love the idea. We definitely have the dog between us of you taking the time and taking some special nights out to just grow intimate this summer. So, or whenever you're listening, this is a great time to do this journey together. And I am so happy I get to do it with you. Not only do we have the freebie for you today in the show notes with the questions, or if you get our email, it was in our email today. Make sure you're on the list if you're not already. You just go to enneagramandmarriage.com and sign up for the freebie and you'll get started on the list. Or you can go to quizforcouples.com and take our quiz, and then you can get on our list that way. But either way, we love to give these kinds of freebies, and you already would have it if you were on that list. But also, if you're not, then it's in the show notes. And I really want to make a mention that next week, we're going to be announcing our Awakening Joy and Awakening the Wonderful Aspects of Intimacy Together, are 2 tracks of our summer intensive. If you just need a little extra help in your marriage, that is a joy of mine, to have some summer times to work with my couples a little bit more freely. And that really makes me happy because that's one of the favorite pieces of my work, is working with you all. So thank you so much. You know, I'm podcasting, I'm coaching, I'm also writing. And so this is just a favorite piece. And I feel like it informs the writing I do, because I get to see you live, and I really love to I'm honored that you work with me. So if you're thinking about doing the intensive, we'll be talking about that next week. But for now, buckle up. Yes, if you're in your car, definitely buckle up. But let's get ready to talk about love maps together. Okay, so you might need a quick refresher on what love maps actually are. And these are the conversations that you have with each other that tend to give you a little bit of a deeper dive on who you are, right? It's the kind of questions that remind us, oh, you're probably not the same person I married 5 years ago, 10 years ago, onward, because we know that couples change so much over the years, most of us so drastically that at times in seasons, we might even say it's the resurrected marriage moment. It's the part of marriage that I'm so different from who I was when we started out that it's hard to recognize me. I know for me that happened when I became more self-pres over years, and Wes was thinking, oh my gosh, she's captain of the tennis team. She's out every day working after that. She's at float parties. She's class vice president, whatever else I was. There's so much going on when you're in your young years with your spouse. And then here I am playing Little House on the Prairie all the years later. And he's probably like, what happened? This is emotional whiplash. And I'm like, oh, I just love my babies. Right. And then we change again as our kids grow up, and I'll be going on a book tour next summer, but I'm not going to do the cheaper by the dozen thing. Don't worry, where I'm not going to be like leaving my family. It'll be much simpler. They'll be with me for most of it, I'm sure. But the point is, these seasons, right? And if we don't keep up with each other in our relationships, we will fail as a couple, plain and simple, because we won't know each other. And when we don't know each other, there's a sense of not being close, not being intimate, and we feel it deeply inside. We know it when we're missing each other, and we feel like roommates. And this is why couples fail. So I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it to empower you, that knowing each other's internal maps about our lives helps to keep us connected. But we stop asking those questions sometimes because sometimes we're scared of the answers or we feel like it could make a fight. So ask when you are in a place to be regulated and ask in a way that will lead them to think that you want to listen. I'm going to go over some questions that I think each type likes to hear, but most importantly, nuance to your spouse because you know them even better than I do by type. We can nuance somewhat, right, with Enneagram type, but you can nuance even farther. But I'm saying that because just because you have the question and that you ask the question, that's only probably less than half of the actual solution to intimacy here emotionally. Because imagine you have the question, you ask it, and you're thinking, oh, right, I did great. Well, if you have the question and you ask it, but you don't listen for the response, or you try to cajole or control the response or fix, your spouse is going to get that immediately. And they're going to feel like, I'm not answering your questions anymore because you're A, managing me, or B, perhaps not even listening to me and tuned me out already back on your phone. So you've got to ask these questions when you have a care to listen. And that means, as we've been learning, that you have the mental bandwidth for it. Something I have to tell my crew sometimes is like, don't ask me a question at certain times of the day because I don't have the mental bandwidth for that at certain times of the day. And it's like I put all of it into this part of the day and that part of the day. And sometimes it just has to cross, right? You can't help it. But when you can help it, which we can here in these questions of love maps, make it more intentional. Like I said, having fun and ask a great question and then listen and ask follow-up questions that are easy. So this is an easy episode, an easy A, but you have to do the work. Remember those ones where your teacher would say, like, this is an open book? That's what we're talking about, like open book test, but you have to be there. You have to be present. You still have to put in that kind of effort. So come when you are rested enough to do that. And that's going to always come back to make sure you're getting your rest, your self-care, your time where you are allowing for all kinds of refreshment in your life, healthy social. Yeah, even if you're like me and you have self-pres, you have to keep up with the social. You have to keep up with doing new and fun things in your relationship. So I am right there with you doing the work alongside you. Okay, so let's think about the types themselves. Let's start with type 1 today, and we'll go through to 9 and just give you a couple reminders at the end, and you will be off on your merry way with these questions. And you can even be downloading them and printing them while we're talking if you're extra efficient. But for type 1s, the questions they love to be asked are often about the things that they love to do in their 7. A lot of people don't remember that 1s have a very strong fun button and they love to go to that 7 space and do silly things. Like I know one of the things Wes is looking forward to this summer is going to with the guys to do iFly skydiving. That is not one I want to do with him. Indoor skydiving is not my thing. I was just talking to my adult nephew about it because he just went and I was like, oh my gosh, good for you. You're doing this before kids. This is not the season of life I want to be doing this, indoor or outdoor. But I love that. I know that about my type 1 husband. And it's a great question to ask your 1 is, what is something really fun you want to do? And it could totally be in their creative 4 center too, by the way. So if they answer that, you don't have to correct them and say, oh no, I heard that you were supposed to be in your 7. Let them tell you, or they will get resentful. You know your 1s, they will get resentful. Okay, now if you have a 2 in your life, ask them what is something that you care about deeply lately, a project or something that feels like it's becoming something you're more passionate about, and let them just tell. And also, it's so cool because they're always asking others and listening intently to others. So for you to just ask them, no strings attached, you're not going to say, hey, don't serve, you know you're over helping. Just listen and let them lead. That is such a joy. Ask follow-up questions. If you're with a 3, ask them something that would be fun for them that is going to provide zest, but not be goal-oriented. So what is life giving to you right now that is nothing to do with your goals? That is a question they will have to sink their teeth into for a moment to go, oh my gosh, not goal-oriented? What are you talking about? But at the end of the day, it feels like a great question because then they can answer something just as a hobby. And that is a great challenge, but also just a ball of fun for your 3. 4s, I think you're not going to be surprised when I say, ask your 4, where have you been noticing beauty lately? They might tell you something about how they've seen it in the back lot of their Lowe's parking lot. I know I was in my 4 one day and I was literally smelling the wood out front and I had the best walk while I was waiting for my kids at Marshall's. I was like, I cannot do the overstimulating Marshall's thing and let me walk around Lowe's. And I felt so at peace out there. But that is the kind of thing your 4 might answer you, something unusual where they're finding beauty. Here I was just enjoying the families picking out their patio furniture and just finding beauty there. And although I'm not a 4 technically, I think that all of us have these questions in mind sometimes, the different ones, and that would definitely have been my answer that day. So let your 4 talk with you, dream with you, let them share a bit of their whimsy. Now, with your 5, again, not going to be surprised to hear they love the question about research. A great Love Maps question would be, hey, when was the last time you got to research something you loved? Or what is something you would love to research if you had a little bit more time? And that may actually get them into that mode. That is their love language. Oh my gosh, that would be so fun. I just went on a We Are the World Netflix show. We watched it as a family last night, and I went on a little afterwards, just check in about the show and all the different people on it because it was so meaningful to those of us who grew up in the 80s. Again, probably those of us who had a type 4 in us, but oh my gosh, it was just, oh my gosh, I was so happy my family wanted to watch and bring it all back. But that was my 5 research kicking in. And I hope that you will ask your 5 what is on their mind for research lately. Now, for your 6, a great question that throws them a little off because they're planning for emergencies, as they should at times, but a little too much sometimes. It helps them to ask, what is something that you are really happy about lately? What is a plan that's gone well? And they may say, you know what, wow, I'm glad you brought that up because I loved how our kids' school year went after we did all that good planning. Or I love the way the family vacation seems to be going as we plan. And by the way, we get a lot of dopamine just from planning a family vacation. So that could even be your question to your 6 around that. So have some fun with that one. I certainly love that 6 space. Now, for 7s, of course, you know the question here. It never gets old. What adventure are you planning this year? Or what's one you would love to plan? Maybe they say, I'm locked in. This is not a good year for me. I'm pregnant or I can't travel for this or that reason. This is a good year for them to dream. It's always a good time for a 7 to dream. So let them dream, ask away, and don't put any boundaries around the dreams. Now, for 8s, ask them a time that they've been softer. Ask them, hey, I know you're so strong. When is the time you've given yourself permission just to be softer lately? And they might tell you, oh, I've been reading a book I love. I know today we actually had an 8-wing 7 drop off a bunch of books. She's been doing library exchanges with my girls, and she's just having fun in that way, just being softer, reading. I'm like, stay as long as you like. We're not home. But it was so sweet for her to just bring her softness to us in a different kind of a way. It may be that you even get some vulnerability with that question. So be ready for that and do not manipulate that for anything. Now, with a 9, the question is going to be a little bit one that they may have to sit with for a moment. Remember, our 9s need time. So give your 9 time. Don't rush them. But ask them, if everybody else's needs were out of the picture just for a moment, what would you like to do? What would you like to do this summer? What is something that would be really fun for you? If it was just everyone else was busy and you had a chance to pick either by yourself or with others, what would you do? I know I was watching Beth on This Is Us and she's so 9ish and she was getting ready to check into a hotel. She decided not to do it, but I've seen a lot of 9s who like that. Melody's a social 9, so her thing is always social, but she was saying, I want to make a Charlie Puth Pure Bar playlist and have you guys practice one with me at home. And so we're going to do that on Friday. But let your 9 have the reins because they're always considering you. So those are some great Love Maps questions to start you out with. And I veered off a little from my planned questions that I have written down, but those are the gist. And in fact, when you see the planned questions, you might even say, oh, there's a different way of asking this. So I love to bring you that all in just your quick PDF that's in the show notes, or go back to your email and get it so that you can have a little bit more intimacy together this summer. This is a great way to do it. Remember what I said. Make sure you're a good listener so they see you paying attention. So this is an open book test, so you get an A. And it's not just about the grade, it's about the intimacy. But still, it's also about the grade. No, I'm just joking. So anyway, I hope you have a great day. Think of the one thing that's most important for you from this podcast today. As always, give yourself a nice deep breath. A sigh. You did a good job listening. And don't forget, next week, if you need more time and attention, our course is coming up. We even have some research chat questions on the Instagram if you want to participate in honing it a bit more. So I look forward to talking to you soon, and have a great rest of your week. All right, bye-bye. Thank you again for listening with us. It was so wonderful to have you. I love knowing we're doing this journey together, not perfectly, but with love, grace, and hopefully some fun too. If you loved today's episode, make sure you leave us a 5-star review at Apple Podcast or Spotify so others can find it too. Visit our show notes so you can get all the links from today's show, as well as enneagramandmarriage.com, the Instagram, the Facebook, and all over the place. Make sure you spread the word. Love living intentionally with you. Bye-bye.